Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this broadcast. My name is Chris from Learn Train Play, and today I'm going to go through my Living City army list, which I'll be looking at using. There'll be slight changes to this as broadcast as I progress, depending on how I feel. If it achieves what I needed to or not. But for the most part, this is the core of the army, and I will go through how each unit will affect the army in general. So where is the no? I lost my. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to have to do it again. Luckily, I know what is in it, so you'll have to bear with me. Mortal Realm, Life, Allegiance, Cities of Sigmar, Battle Mage, Free Guild General, Black Ark Fleet Master, Demigryph Knights, Free Guild Crossbowmen, 20, Great Swords 10, Guard, Spears and Shields 30, Handgunners 30, Iron Drakes 10, Shadow Warriors 10. So that is everything from the Cities of Sigmar book. Then we go Stormcast Eternals. We take a Knight Incantor. We go Artillery, take a Solar Star Ballista. Units, we then go Prosecutors. We have the Celestial Hammers on these ones, and we have 6 of them. Okay. Almost done. Back to City of Sigmar. Make the Free Guild General our general to give battle line to the Greatswords and the Demigryph Knights. Why is that not? That's why. Living City, Mortal Life. Right. We make him an Iron Oak Artisan to give him +1 to wound and +1 save against attacks that target him, and we give him the Spear of the Hunt. So if he charges first, he strikes at the start of the combat phase and gives him +1 rend to his Spyhander. So his weapon becomes rend -3. If he charges, he strikes first. He gains +1 to his armor save, so it becomes has a 3+ save. Yeah. So it makes him pretty good. We'll make the Knight Incantor the General's Adjutant because it will make him a little harder to kill. Battle Mage, I normally go from the realm of Chamon for Transmutation of Lead, since there's a lot of 4+ armor saves out there. The Lore of Leaves, I usually give him the Iron Oak Skin, and the Knight Incantor, I give the Cage of Thorns. So, for those who don't know, the Living City lets you place in reserve 1 unit for every unit that you deploy in, and they can come in via the hidden paths, which is like many of the sort of outflanking, similar fashion as the Beasts of Chaos. They come in on the board edges, 6 inches on, more than 9 inches away from the enemy. Then, so with that, one thing that I generally do, the Shadow Warriors don't count towards this if you place them in reserve, which we tend to do. So the others, but we have lots of, how many units? 13? 13. So it's a lot. Normally, and this is why I bring the Black Ark Fleetmaster, because a 60-point character that we don't really need to do anything with. He is just there to use the command point, to use the command ability. The command ability lets you, at the end of the shooting phase, one friendly unit wholly within 18 of the person with the command ability, which would be all the characters in this army. After they have shot, they get to move, to make a normal move, and not allowed to run. But this works for any units. It doesn't have to be the ones that are outflanking, but it helps them get around the board better. Demigryph Knights are just there for kind of a countercharge unit, to mop up anything that's left from all the shooting, of which there is a lot. And that's what we're depending on this list for, mostly shooting. But the Demigryph Knights, they offer some more mobility. They're pretty damaging. They have a 3+ save. It says 4 on the War Scroll here, but it's actually a 3+ save. 4 wounds each. They're pretty tanky and they hit fairly hard. Also, they gain 1 wound regain 1 wound that they've taken every turn in each of your hero phases, because of the law of the Living City rules. Free-Guild Crossbowmen, they're there because they do what they do. 24-inch range. 20 of them will shoot twice if there's nobody within 3 inches of them and they haven't moved. So these crossbowmen will likely be screened by either the Greatswords or the Free Guild Guard, at least some of the Free Guild Guard. And yeah, so they, with the command ability from the Free Guild General, +1 to hit and wound on Hold the Line, these Free Guild crossbowmen become really effective. The same with the handgunners. The handgunners, they don't move and they have a target they can shoot at. They're hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s. 30 shots, well 29 plus the long rifle. Yeah, they make a mess of most things. And they're in one also. The Greatswords are there for a bit more synergy, a bit more protection. Now at 140 points, they are very worth taking. Doing mortal wounds in addition, with 6s to wound. 2 attacks each, +1 to hit when they are near the Free Guild General, so they're hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s. Or is it +1 to wound? Either way, it's like a 2s and the 3s or 3s and 2s. They're very effective. So they can deal some damage. As well as the handgunners, we've got the Iron Drakes. Normally, I put these in the hidden paths along with the prosecutors. Was there another unit? The Ballista, no. Shadow Warriors tend to go in reserve. But yeah, it's the Iron Drakes, the prosecutors, and the Black Ark Fleetmaster that I usually put into the hidden paths so that they can come on, find a valuable target, get within range, shoot, and depending on if you want to be more aggressive, move on to objectives, or charge a unit after you've had the free move, not a free move, after the command point move with the Fleet Master. So it's appear on 6 inches, shoot, move, and then assault, which is why I was choosing the prosecutors. Prosecutors with the javelins would also be more effective at shooting, doing more damage. But these guys have a more effective in combat, so they can move 12 after they've shot. They can charge 3d6 and up to 18 instead of 12 as in normally. So it's the prosecutors in this list that are being more aggressive, and they could also, with this list, it's the sort of thing where you can also screen with the prosecutors, or if you need to move backwards more away from the enemy. There's a lot of tactical flexibility with the Living City and that command ability. The Cellstar Ballista, it does what it does. I don't have an ordinator to make it better, but it's a pretty cool war machine for 110 points. You could easily drop it and put another unit of Shadow Warriors on, or any other number of units, but it's very useful at a higher end than the rest of the shooting in the force. So while it's nowhere near any meta-based lists, it relies on a lot of skill on the player, because there's nothing in there that's ridiculously killy. But used together, and this is how the way I look at this. I attempt to have an army which is a big mishmash of different troops, mostly shooting, but they're all good in different areas. And with this army, I take a page out of Hannibal Barker, out of his playbook, effectively. For those of you that don't know who Hannibal Barker is, he was the general of the Carthaginians in the Second Punic War. So that was the second war of Carthage against Rome. He's the legendary general that took elephants over the Alps. Came up through from North Africa, where it's now Morocco, crossed into Spain, moved up through Spain, France, and then over the Alps. Back then, this was, even today's standards, this is an amazing feat, considering the obstacles he had to overcome. And his army was, in a sense, like this one, a hodgepodge of very different units they're all good in their own way, but he knew how to use these troops. So from Carthage, from North Africa, he had his elephants, he had his cavalry, his elite cavalry. They weren't heavy cavalry, they were light cav, but he knew how to use them. As they came up through Spain, they picked up some Spanish mercenary horsemen, cavalry, and some infantry. As he passed into Gaul, or what is now France, he got some more some infantry, which were the very barbarian type infantry with swords and shields, very basic, but again good fighters. Also from a lot of the infantry that he would have had from Africa as well. And the main thing was knowing his enemy. He knew how the Romans fought. He'd fought them before. He knew exactly how they fight, which is another thing with this army. You have to know your enemy. If you have a good understanding, I mean, this is in general for Age of Sigmar will take you a long way. Knowing what your enemy can do, what your opponents are capable of, each and every unit and hero, what they do. So, yeah, I mean, that is the general aim with this army is to leverage my army's strengths against my opponent's weaknesses, to kite them around the board, have enough at the end of my shooting phase, have enough space between my units and their units that in their turn they are going to either struggle to get into combat with units with my units, or can only combat the units, charge the units that I want them to, so that in my turn again I can counter that, or if they get a double turn, depending on the way the game goes, let them only have the units that I'm willing to sacrifice. And that is one of the things about, if you look at these units, there are none more expensive than the 300 points in the 30 handgunners. 240 for the 30 free guard, 200 for the crossbowmen. So whichever unit they take, if they manage to take out, because 23 crossbowmen will die if you get into combat with them. And that's a fairly large chunk of this army when you're looking at the damage output. But that's why you protect them with either the guard or the greatswords. Same goes for the handgunners. Those are the two of the key units in this army, and if they are protected well enough, their output will go a long way. So again, this is the idea. Well, there's nothing that stands out as an amazing piece, one of those must-have. You must use this in your Cities of Sigmar army. There's none of that, apart from maybe the Knight Incantor is one of the things that you'll see in pretty much every Cities of Sigmar list. But he's only 120 points, and you'd be silly not to take him. But yeah, it's to look at it, you think, oh, it's all weak, it'll all die easily. And while that is true, most of it will die pretty easily if you give your opponent the chance to kill them. You have to be smart in playing your game. You have to know where the objectives are, how you're going to reach them. You need to think 2 to 3 turns ahead, and be able to use your entire army together to isolate your opponents. So I hope that helps. Is this going to go 5-0? Probably not. There are a bunch of top tier armies out there that would probably enjoy going against this, but not so much. Maybe it's hard to say. For example, going against a change host, with all the flamers, they're probably going to have a fun day taking out the 30 handgunners, which they would see as a large threat, because they'd disappear pretty quickly. But again, if you're going against the change host, maybe you don't deploy the 30 handgunners that they could just shoot off the board. Maybe instead you deploy your 10 Iron Drakes. Same with the crossbowmen. If you know you're going against an opponent that's he could go first, then you deploy 10 Shadow Warriors, 10 Iron Drakes. Deploy prosecutors, and you can still put in the hidden paths, your key units, and then turn up on the board edge and shoot the crap out of their Lord of Change or other units, because the what's it called? The locus of change is only in melee, a -1 to hit. So yeah, you could make a big mess of that. There's plenty of flexibility in this list, is what I'm saying. And I can't remember how many shots, over 100 shots over this can put out. So let's see, 40 from the crossbowman, 30 from the handgunners, 70 plus 20 for not moving with the iron drakes, 90, 100 with the shadow warriors, 110, 114 with the 6 prosecutors, 115 with the Solar Star Ballista, and that's if it shoots 1 shot. So that's plenty of damage output in the shooting phase where you're not receiving damage in return. So yeah. Anyway, that's just my Living City list. I am working on changing it up some. I have a Gotrek on the way, which I will be looking at putting in this as a big beat stick that can, or little beat stick even, that can go and smash face of anybody that wants to come near. Also liking the idea of a Celestin Prime in this list. And I also enjoy using the other cities as well. Hallowheart is a very, very good city, but for that I do need either I could do with a Hurricanum. I could really do with the Celestial Hurricanum. Alternatively, Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger would work, something that has more than 6 wounds for when you use the Hallowheart command ability, so it doesn't just outright kill them if you roll a 6. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, leave a comment, leave it in the comments section, and I'll try to reply as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, and until next time.